The Witch in the Wood by T.H. White, Chapter 8. The two knights-errant in Lothian had been given rooms in what was called the East Tower. It was the southeast tower, really, but as the castle had only 4 towers, it was more convenient to call them by the names of the true points of the compass. Their rooms were above one another, circular as usual, with the kennels underneath and a guard-room on top. All the towers, except the great keep where the royal apartments were, had small guard-rooms on their top floors, so that the tower watches could be kept. Into Sir Grummer's room, King Pellinore rushed that evening, while he was getting ready for dinner. They found out long afterwards that he had met Queen Morgause on the cliffs. "I say, Grummer, look here, dash it all," he exclaimed. "We must get out of this." "Why, what's the matter, old boy?" Sir Grummer straightened his gown complacently. "Oh, I cannot very well say, but honestly we must go." "But we can't go. The magic boat's gone floating away. We could ride. King Lot's taken all the horses. Couldn't we walk or something, Grummer? I mean to say, really, it is a bit thick." "What's thick, Pellinore?" "Well, this castle and everything." "What's wrong with the castle?" "It's cold," said King Pellinore. "No, I mean it's hot, what?" Sir Grummer examined the king suspiciously. "My dear fellow, you're fancying things." The king shuddered all over as if at some frightful recollection. "Oh, honestly, I'm not fancying things," he exclaimed. "No, not a bit." "Well, we can't go anyway." "Oh, Grummer, couldn't we go just a little way, eh? We could swim or something, or run. We ought to be able to run 20 miles if we ran all night." Sir Grummer drew Sir Palomides into a corner of the great square hall after dinner. "Pellinore's gone mad," he said. "We must think of something quick." "Mad?" exclaimed Sir Palomides. "Yes, he wants to go running about all night. My dear fellow, he looked at me like a wolf, positively like a wolf." "Hydrophobia?" "Yes, hydrophobia. You must devise a plan immediately." "Take afflicted monarch out of self. Beg pardon. Restore normal mental functions by revision of previous interests, by golly. Well, you know best. Palomides' humble plan is to start King Pellinore questing again." "Oh, I see." "Royal mind will return to sanity when occupied with accustomed pursuits." "What sort of pursuits?" "The questing beast." "But, my dear fellow, this questing beast has disappeared completely. I told you so before." "Then Pellinore must pursue other quarry." "I say, Palomides," said Sir Grummer admiringly, "you seem to have an answer for everything. But what can he start hunting?" "Yours truly," said Palomides, "is in possession of a standard work of natural history. It is called Liber de Natura Quorundum Animalium. Yours truly will fetch same." When Sir Palomides came back, he was carrying an immense volume bound in leather. It was written in lovely Gothic manuscript on vellum, and it had pictures on almost every page. They were pictures of griffins, bonacons, cockodrills, manticores, chaladri, cynomugli, sirens, paradoxians, dragons, aspidolections, aspidoscelones, and many other flora and fauna common in those days. Sir Grummer was delighted with it. "I say, Palomides, what is this?" Palomides spelled it out slowly. "It's an antelope," he said. "Est animal Acerrimum nimis." It says, same animal is impossible to be captured because it is so fast and timid. But it has some very complicated horns, which it enjoys to rub against trees, and if it happens to rub them against a tamarisk, it gets entangled there, and it cries out in a very melancholy way, and the hunter, hearing the cry, goes and kills it. There he is, sticking his spear in, you see." "Well, I never," said Sir Grummer. "Got any antelopes here, old boy?" "Doubtful," said Sir Palomides. "And anyway, this tamarisk only grows by the Euphrates. So that's not much good." "No, unless we heard the cry, you know." They continued to turn the pages. "I say, what's this coming out of this one behind?" "It's a smell," replied the Paynim, blushing. "Good gracious, what's it doing that for?" "To make people go away." "Cunning animal," commented Sir Grummer. But same people are not going their ways. No, they're sticking a spear in it, poor creature. Poor creature. It says they call it a bonacon. A bonacon was a maned deer with curling horns and a tufted tail. It was making it smell with a look of supreme vulgarity, even in death. This is a peridexion. When birds sit upon branches or within the shadow of this tree, same birds are immune from dragons. That's why the 2 dragons are snapping at him, I suppose. Undoubtedly. I say, here's another one making something come out in front. It's his breath, said Sir Palomides. He is a panther, and his breath is so fragrant that all beasts are attracted by same except the dragon. What are those 4 smelling it? These 4 beasts resemble an ass, a wolf, a ram, and a sheep, by jingo. I suppose he'll eat 'em. I suppose so, silly beasts, said Sir Grummore contemplatively. Now this one, remarked Sir Palomides with pride, is Tigris. We have him in Ind. The way to catch cubs of same is throw down a glass ball at his feet. Tiger, observing self smally reflected in glass ball, takes reflection for own cub, which hunter proceeds to remove. An interesting hobby, said Sir Grummore. Got many tigers round here? None. Then we must think of something else. The 2 knights discussed the pictures for a long time. There were several good ones of lions, which will always spare a prostrate man, or captives are afraid of white cocks. The lion in this picture was putting its poor head between its paws with a pathetic gesture on seeing one, and which also used their foliated tails for brushing out their tracks when pursued. There was an interesting one of an ibex bounding down headlong from a rocky eminence, with its horns advanced. The horns of an ibex are so constructed that it can bounce on them without being hurt. Sir Grummore was much struck by the ingenuity of nature, but Sir Palomides preferred the horns of the Yale, which can be moved backwards and forwards like ears. Then they found a she-bear licking her cubs into shape. They are born as balls of matter and sculpted by their mother afterwards. And a fine full-page picture of the aspic doxylone. It was a large whale-like creature with 7 fins and a sheepish expression. Some mariners were mooring their boat to it in graceful Anglo-Saxon attitudes, under the impression that it was an island, and one of the stupider ones was going to light a fire on its back. "Yeah," said Sir Palomides proudly, "we perceive the chalidrus bird, worth 2 in the bush. What does it do?" "Same bird perches on bed rail of dying man, and if it looks toward him, this man must die. It's looking away from him. Then he will live. Lucky fella," said Sir Grummer. "Turn over. What are these hedgehogs doing?" "Those hedgehogs," explained Sir Palomides, "are tender partners, by jingo. Can a mother's tender care fail toward offspring she generates?" "Yes, but what are those blobs at the end of their prickles? Look like pincushions to me. Some maternal porcupines are occupied in collecting grapes for their descendants. Kindly observe the grape tree round which they are gathered. Those blobs are grapes. Honourable sir has struck target right in one. Such hogs collect grapes for progeny by rolling on same." "Well, I never knew that. Look at all those grapes on the end of their prickles. Ingenious creatures, very. Here we have the unicorn, called by Greeks rhinoceros. Don't you have some of those round here, old boy? I seem to remember hearing something about them. This beast is common in Lothian and Orkney. Well then, read what it says." It seemed that the unicorn, which was almost as swift and timid as the antelope, could only be captured in one way. You had to use a virgin for bait, and when the unicorn perceived her alone, he would immediately come and lay his horn within her lap. There was a picture of a particularly unreliable-looking virgin, holding the poor creature's horn in one hand while she beckoned to some spearmen with the other. Her expression of duplicity was balanced by the fatuous confidence with which the unicorn regarded her. So it was decided to interest King Pellinore in unicorns. And that's the end of chapter 8.